Hey guys, welcome back. This is the MMA Breakdown. Today we're doing a recap for UFC 187, Johnson versus Cormier. I know this is late, several days after the event, but I want to do it anyway. I just really want to try to do recaps for all of these events this summer. So I'm going to try to keep it real brief. I know my predictions videos are long enough already, so I'll try to keep this as brief as I can. But I just want to say this event I thought was really fantastic. Everything came together, at least the pay-per-view. You know, I thought the prelim card was kind of slow. I wasn't really high on the prelim card going into it, but the pay-per-view was just fantastic. You had everything coming together. All the fights were great. You had 4 out of 5 finishes on the main card. Really significant title fights. And you have storylines coming out of this. The Arlovsky victory and overall his comeback. Cerrone, I think they already announced he's fighting for the belt next. And then obviously Weidman and Cormier with their victories, and Cormier's little beef with Bader that's going on. And this is what I wish we could get every time out from a UFC pay-per-view. This day and age, you guys know, I'm not a fan of all the cards they put on every week. I just wish they could really stack each pay-per-view like this, make it really meaningful, make it star-studded and stacked, and give us maybe one fight night a month other than that, and I think that should be more than enough. You just see all the buzz that this generates after the fact. Everyone's talking about Arlovsky and all these guys, and you might not get storylines like that out of every card, even if they stack them. A bit of it is due to chance, but you have all the stars coming to Las Vegas for these big events, and all the buzz that these kind of big events generate. And you compare that to some of the fight night cards. It's just you can't even, the fight night cards. They come and they go. No one's talking about them after they happen. So I really want to see big events like this every time, and I just loved it. Just wanted to give my opinion on that. But my pick record for this event was 6 for 10. The only fight I didn't pick was Makhachev and Kuntz. But let's get right to this and try to blow through this as fast as we can. All right, so at flyweight, Justin Scoggins got the unanimous decision, a 30-27 sweep over Josh Sampo. I thought Scoggins looked good in the first round. You see he's a dynamic striker, was really working the karate stance and the various kicks from there really well. I actually thought Sampo won the third round, and the second round I thought was kind of close. Scoggins just, if he would have fought the way he did in the first round for the rest of the fight, I would have said, great job, good win, let's move on. But, I think there's a worry here. I thought he was in danger of losing a decision that he didn't deserve to here, just because of how he let Sampo get back into the fight. And, I don't think, that's not a good thing. His only finish was against Vasilik in his debut. And he's been competitive with guys like Moraga and Ortiz, legit guys since then. But I just think it's time, he starts picking up the pace a bit, getting back to his finishing ways, or at least completely dominating guys. These kind of close fights aren't really going to get him too far. And I know he's really young, so I don't think it's a big worry now. But, if a couple years go by and he wins some, loses some, and he's still just kind of having these lackluster decision wins against guys who aren't really at the top. He's gonna be closer to 30 at that point, and not really have covered any ground in the division. So I think it's time he just starts picking up the pace a little bit. You see a guy like Max Holloway, he's just had this meteoric rise and is already an elite fighter and contender in his division. And with Scoggins, we haven't really gotten that yet. And, that's obviously very hard to achieve, but I just think he needs to be moving along a little bit faster. But, good fighter and look good here. And Sampo, I don't really know what's next for him. He got back in there in the fight a little bit, but seemed outmatched for the most part. And next up at lightweight, Islam Makhachev got the second round submission over Leo Kuntz. Looked good. I thought his striking visually it looked a little bit awkward, but he totally dominated him on the feet. And he had some nice throws, and once it got to the ground, was able to take the back and choke him out with ease. So really strong, dominant performance for Makhachev. Look forward to seeing him fight next. But I would just kind of caution everyone not to overhype this guy. I just think Kuntz was really outclassed and outmatched here. So want to see what Makhachev can do to some better competition. But I'm just not ready to declare this guy another Nurmagomedov after this performance. But did look really good. And then Kuntz, I don't know. I just didn't think he looked good. So I'm not really excited to see him again. And moving on to the Fox Sports 1 prelim card at welterweight, Colby Covington beat Mike Pyle. This is a fight that I got incorrect. I picked Pyle to win, but he got the unanimous decision. Basically out-wrestled Pyle. Took him a while to get the takedown, but once he secured it, got it over and over again, and Pyle couldn't do anything to get up off of his back, which was surprising because Pyle has always had a pretty crafty guard. A couple fights ago, a couple of years ago at this point, but against Rick Story, was really attacking with that Kimura and giving him trouble off of his back. And Pyle's not a guy who loses decisions. This is his first decision loss in the UFC, and coming against a guy who didn't really have a whole lot of steam behind him. I mean, Covington has finished his last two fights, but it really came against terrible guys and the absolute bottom level fighters in the UFC. So this was disappointing, I thought, for Pyle. I just thought his skill would have been able to carry him here, but couldn't do anything off of his back, couldn't stop the takedown. But you saw in that third round, use the Kimura to reverse position and nearly got the choke in that third round, but didn't get it. It wasn't enough. And Covington got the decision. So good one for Covington. A win over Mike Pyle is always meaningful. A skilled guy like that who's been around for a long time. But Pyle just really isn't a relevant fighter at this point. And even though he's done some good things in the UFC, I'd like to see Covington fight a more relevant guy before I'm really sold on him as a top prospect. And then Pyle, I'm sure he could go on beating some guys at the level of Covington or like Waldberger, his last fight or a couple fights ago. He got the finish there. I'm sure he could still beat guys at that level, but I don't want to see him stick around for another knockout loss. He's just been knocked out too many times at this point. That's been his undoing in the UFC, and I think he should just retire. All right, moving on. Rafael Natal got a split decision over Uriah Hall in a middleweight bout. And this fight was boring to watch. Both of these guys I don't really think are going anywhere. I picked Hall to win this. I know a lot of people disagree with the decision, but I gave it to Natal. I wasn't scoring it all that closely. I think Hall won the first round, but then the last two, Natal was able to get some brief takedowns that he didn't do much with. And then I thought that third round he pushed Hall up against the fence, was winning on position in the clinch. And Hall just does not have the sense of urgency. When you start clinching with him, getting in his chest, he just shuts down. And it's really disappointing. A guy as talented and as dangerous and as athletic as him should not be losing to Natal, who's not a bad fighter, but just kind of a meddling, middle-of-the-road fighter who really I don't see going anywhere. And if you can't beat Natal, I don't think there's much for you. So really disappointed in Hall. Had a couple of finishes in his last couple of fights, but just couldn't do anything here. And Natal, he's just had a string of decisions. Hasn't finished anyone, for a couple of years now. Sean Spencer was the last guy he finished, and hasn't been able to do that again. And when he's faced stiffer competition, like Tim Kennedy gets knocked out. Dropped a decision to Ed Herman. I didn't think he lost that fight, but the point is he's not dominant enough where he's just shutting guys out and dominating guys. So Disappointing for both guys here. I'm not. I can't get excited to see Uriah Hall fight again. And Rafael Natal continues, to rack up the lackluster decision wins, but I don't think he's going anywhere either. All right, next up, welterweight Dong Hyun Kim got the third round submission over Josh Berkman. This was a great fight, great effort from both guys. And I'm so glad Kim went back to his ground game. You saw against CR Bahadurzada and Paulo Tiago, this guy has great back control. Just rides his opponents like a backpack in both of those fights, and a really dominant, sticky ground game. But here in this fight, he had to face some real adversity. Berkman had him hurt several points throughout the fight, was dominating him on the feet. But Kim was able to take his back standing in that first round when he won the round with that. And then in the third round, Berkman came alive, seemed to be close to getting the finish on the feet. But Kim was able to get to the ground again and finish with the arm triangle from mount. So I thought it was a really impressive, controlled performance by Kim. And I think that last knockout loss to Tyron Woodley really woke him up out of his stupor, where he just wanted to throw spinning back fists and fight fight in such a wild manner. So real nice win for Kim here. I thought it was a good effort for Bergman too. I think he can still provide a competitive test for other top guys or guys climbing the ranks. And I'm not writing him off. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he'll fight for the title, but I still think he has some value as a top level competitor in the division. And Dong Hyun Kim, great win. I'd like to see him fight Neil Magny. I think I said in my recap for the Manila Fight Night card that Magny should fight Ellenberger, and I think that's also a good matchup. But Kim coming off of a win here, needs a win streak if he's going to get back into title contention, and it would be a real step up for Magny, and it would be that legit established name that he needs to win over to really get in the title mix. So I think that would be a great fight, Magny versus Kim. All right, moving on at flyweight, last fight on the prelims. Dodson got a unanimous decision over Zach Makovsky, 29-28 across the board. I actually thought Makovsky won rounds 1 and 2. I've heard some other people echo that sentiment. But Dodson just looked like a shell of himself here. Could have been the layoff or the injury or both of those things combined. He just didn't have the explosiveness. He wasn't, he wasn't finding the mark on his punches, and it was really just kind of a boring and disappointing fight to watch. I thought the story of the story of the fight was Makovsky landing his left straight several times on Dodson. But Dodson, came back to win the third round pretty clearly. But I'm just not excited to see Dodson fight Demetrius Johnson after this. I really think he should get another fight before then. Get another one of his signature knockouts to, make everyone believe that he can be competitive with Johnson again. Even after his last fight against Moraga, I didn't think he was ready for Johnson. He just seems to really wait around a lot. Against Moraga, he didn't really do anything until the end of the first round. And Mighty Mouse is a guy who gets going right away. And I think he's improved a ton since their first fight. So I'd really like to see Dodson versus Benavidez. We're going to talk about next, and that kind of leaves Mighty Mouse without an opponent for a while. There's really no one else you could have him fight that would make sense. So probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's really, I would much rather see Dodson fight Benavidez than see either of those guys fight Mighty Mouse again next. All right, so onto the main card. Benavidez got the unanimous decision, 30-27 sweep over Moraga. And I like that Benavidez used his wrestling and grappling here to win. You saw he was really dominant on the ground, got to the crucifix position a lot, attempted the mounted guillotine like the one he got over Tim Elliott. But on the feet, other than the knockdown in the first round, which he couldn't really capitalize on, Moraga was really winning this fight on the feet. He was landing nice body kicks. He was beating Benavidez to the punch. And, I said this going in, But you look at his last fight with Dustin Ortiz, and you can compare Benavidez' striking there to his finishes over Formiga, which was a one-shot knockout in the opening minutes of that fight, and then his body shot finish over Darren Uyenoyama. I think his striking is really kind of degraded since Dwayne Ludwig left and Martin Kampman's come in. His striking is just not as technical or as fluid as it was. Now he's just winging bombs, and you saw that in the Ortiz fight. You saw Mighty Mouse capitalize on that, and here his striking did not look good. He's not throwing the kind of clean combinations he was before. So I don't know. I think Benavidez definitely has to refine his striking back to the way it used to be if he's going to be competitive with Mighty Mouse again. And Moraga looked good. He can go on to fight other top flyweights. He was competitive here, not so much on the ground, but yeah, and I just really want to see Benavidez fight Dodson. Just find out who the real number one contender is. Whoever loses that fight could still go on to fight for the title again, rack up another win streak, but that's what I'm looking for. All right, next up, at heavyweight, Andrei Arlovski knocking out Travis Browne in the first round. It's just incredible. I said Browne was going to knock him out in the first round. I was completely wrong, and I'm glad I was, because this Arlovski comeback is so much fun to watch. I didn't even think his win over Bigfoot was all that meaningful, especially after Bigfoot got knocked out again by Mir in the same fashion. But, Browne's a legit guy. He's had his setbacks against Verdum and against Bigfoot Silva, although, might have been a fluke there because had a leg injury, but great win. Arlovski just got on him early and never let up. Was doing that crazy would throw the cross and then come back with the back fist. And I've only seen that kind of stuff in street fights, but it worked here and seemed to really give him an advantage. Luke Thomas has really explained the advantages of that, and he's broken that down. But it was a barn burner. Browne was able to come back and knock down Arlovski, but Arlovski recovered and put Browne out on the feet. I thought the stoppage, honestly, was a little early. I know that sounds kind of stupid to say, but nevertheless, got a really impressive win over a legit guy like Browne. And just give Arlovski the title shot, if not next. I mean, I think Stipe Miocic might have the better argument for a title shot. I know he lost against Dos Santos, but don't chance this guy losing, giving him another top contender, because he could lose fighting Miocic, even though I might favor him in that fight just because his stand-up has been looking really good. But I would not chance this guy losing. It's really a fun thing to see a guy like this who was a champion back in 2006 or 2007, whatever it was. Was written off as a bum by a lot of fans, me included. Suffering knockouts. People said he had a glass chin in other organizations, and just comes back, fights his way up to the top, gets a win over a legit top contender like Browne. Don't risk him losing. Just wait around, or just give him the winner of Kane and Verdum. Ride this thing all the way. Give Arlovski his title shot. I think it would be a huge fight. It would make so much money getting those old era fans back, and that's really what I want to see. I don't think Arlovski still stands a chance against Kane or some other top guys. But he proved me wrong twice now. Didn't pick him to win the Bigfoot fight either, and I can't wait to see his next fight. It was just so exciting here, and I want to see I want to see him fight for the title. And Travis Browne, a guy who I think is just, for a while there, his kind of Dominic Cruz-esque footwork and fighting style was really working. The knockout over Struve, and had some other wins, but I think guys like that, and I mentioned this with Alex Caceres, um, they're almost so dynamic that they're lacking the fundamentals. And I just don't think Brown has the striking where he can win a decision over, a good boxer. Or, like here, he couldn't even survive against Arlovsky. He just, when he gets in the pocket, he can't trade shot for shot. He doesn't have those fundamental combinations. He doesn't even use a jab cross. He really likes that movement, and he's just lacking those fundamentals in his striking. So I think that's really a big concern for him, and he has to shore that hole up. But yeah, Arlovsky gets a great win, and moving on. Lightweight, Cerrone got the TKO in the second round over Makdessi. Another really fun fight. I thought Cerrone might be more dominant than he was. I said Makdessi got shut out by Njokuani because of the length and reach, and this fight was a little more competitive than that, but still Cerrone was in control the whole time, really reeling off those head kicks one after the other, really sneaking them in there after his combinations, and has a real weapon with those head kicks, and that's ultimately what broke Makdessi's jaw and put him out. I'm so glad that Makdessi was, still had the awareness to call off the fight. I don't want to see a guy when he's done, get even more hurt. I think people should really commend Makdessi for, calling off the fight himself there. I actually thought it looked like Chandler versus Brooks too, where Chandler did a similar thing but didn't even know that he had called off the fight. That's what I thought had happened, but I'm glad that Cerrone didn't land another shot after that. And such an impressive win streak for Cerrone, especially for being so active. 8 fights now, I think. And, granted, a few of those were controversial. I didn't think he beat Ben Henderson. That's actually the only one that was controversial. But, to go that long, getting the incredible finishes he's gotten over, Miller and Martins, to go that long undefeated, fighting the top guys, that's really impressive. They said he's getting the next title shot, and I think that's definitely the right call if Nurmagomedov can't, get ready in time. So I don't think he's going to beat RDA. I mean, obviously, I think he's when he fought RDA the first time mentally, he wasn't really there, and that's the reason I thought he lost. But RDA, his wrestling and striking obviously is just so good and effective now. And if he can dominate Pettis the way he did, I don't think he'll have trouble taking down Cerrone. But looking forward to seeing that fight. Should be great. And Cerrone gets a great win. And Makdessi, one of these guys who has really big power, but hasn't really been able to climb the ranks. But I think he can still provide a lot of fun fights, and I think that's his place in the UFC. All right, so on to the title fights. Co-main middleweight title fight. Weidman got the first round TKO over Vitor Belfort. Encountered some resistance early by Belfort. Belfort came forward, was really chasing him down, landing big shots on him. Weidman had to cover up, got a little bloodied up, but that was it. Took him down, moved him out, and just pounded him out. Belfort had nothing off of his back, and that's what I said going into this fight. Against Jones, even against Rumble, really struggled with the wrestling, and Weidman just tore him to pieces once he got him on the ground. It's hard to tell, how hurt Weidman was from that early flurry by Belfort, if he was hurt at all. Maybe he wasn't. But I think he's been exposed a bit. Exposed in the sense that he's hittable on the feet. Machida was able to get to him a little bit in the later rounds of that fight. And I think future opponents might look at that. But let's just get this Weidman-Rockhold fight made. I can't wait for that. I mean, you look at how Weidman took Machida the distance, and then how Rockhold just manhandled him in his last fight. That's going to be an incredible fight. And I really don't understand why they haven't announced it, even announced that Rockhold's getting the next shot. I mean, Jacare's injured, but even without being injured, I mean, Rockhold's just had the way more meaningful and impressive win over Machida than Rockhold's wins over Carmont or Jacare's wins over Carmont and Kamosi for the second time in his last fight. But great win for Weidman. I think he has a real opportunity here to do something that John Jones or even Anderson Silva couldn't really do, and that's beat really high level, legit opponents. When people talked about Anderson Silva's legacy versus GSP's, a lot of people say that GSP fought the more credible guys. He had the better resume. And with Weidman, I don't think we have to talk about that at all. Beating Machida, Belfort, Anderson Silva twice, and now he has Rockhold and Jacare coming up. If he can beat all those guys, I think he's will be in serious talk for number one pound for pound all time. Especially if he continues to hold the belt for years to come. John Jones fought Belfort at light heavyweight when he hadn't been there for such a long time, fighting Chael Sonnen going up to light heavyweight, stuff like that. It's not the same level of guys Weidman is beating here. So, but great one for Weidman. And Belfort, I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like saying he should hang it up, but I'm sure he could still beat some other guys and have some fun matchups. So we'll see. And then on to the main event, light heavyweight title fight, Cormier getting the third round submission over Anthony Rumble Johnson. Another great fight where Johnson got an early knockdown. And then that second round started to land some head kicks, and it seemed like he had Cormier in a little bit of trouble. But after getting dropped, Cormier recovered, was able to get the takedown on Rumble rushing in, and from there the fight was really just over. On the ground, Johnson had nothing. Cormier was attacking with the Kimura at one point, and then in the second round, after that first round, Johnson just looked done. It was like Lesnar-Carwin almost. He just looked like he had completely emptied his gas tank, and Cormier took advantage in the second round, got him down again after eating a few head kicks and big shots, and it was over at that point. Johnson trying to punch from his back, that's the flag of surrender right there, and Cormier choked him out, proved he has a really strong grappling game and can submit. Did it against Dan Henderson. I didn't know, how revealing that was, but did it here against Rumble. And great win for Cormier. But look, I picked Rumble to win this fight, and I know this is going to sound really bad here. I know no one's going to agree with me, but I thought it was just a terrible game plan by Rumble Johnson. I expected him to fight Cormier the way he fought Phil Davis, sitting on the outside, letting Cormier come to him and just counter from there, ride out the decision, win rounds. But instead it was like he fought like he had no other chance to win but to knock Cormier out in the first round. And if he couldn't do that, then he just wasn't going to try to fight any other way. I thought it was kind of crazy how he just went after Cormier and put everything into going for the knockout in that first round. I thought it was really kind of, not an intelligent game plan at all. And I thought he had a really legitimate chance to win if he fought, like he fought against Phil Davis. And, I think he could still have a chance of beating Cormier if he fought that way. But he just was so persistent on going for that knockout that he just seemed to really gas himself out. But one thing I think Cormier can learn from that is he tried to fight Jones the same way. He tried to tie him up in the clinch and was just going for those big uppercuts like he needed to knock Jones out. And Cormier said going into this fight that, he fought Jones emotionally, and he thought, he had the advantage here in this fight of not having any emotions. And I think that's how he has to fight John Jones now. I don't think Jones can beat him. I don't think Cormier can beat Jones, but that's what he's got to do against Jones. You're not going to knock him out in the first round. Just be calm in there. Try to wrestle with him. Try to win 3 out of 5 rounds. Try to grind on him like he did here against Johnson. I think we saw in the first fight that he can't out wrestle Jones, but I think that's what he needs to do to have a legitimate chance of beating Jones. And people, there's this big discussion about whether Cormier is a real champion or not. Look, good for him. Jones, as Cormier would put it, disqualified himself. He's got the belt. Good for him. Call yourself a champion, but he didn't beat John Jones. If John Jones never comes back, sure, Cormier will go on to defend the belt. But if Jones comes back, they'll fight again, and I think Jones will win. But if we're expecting Jones to come back, I just don't think we can call Cormier the champion, but he never beat Jones, who's the #1 fighter in that division. But anyways, looking forward to that fight. Oh, the Bader thing. I think it's a fun fight. Just for Cormier to get an easy knockout. I don't think Bader can be one bit competitive with him, but I liked the call out. I liked the little not scuffle quite, but the confrontation at the press conference. If Jones can come back by December, I can wait around for that. If we don't know when he's coming back or we can't get a date on that soon, have Cormier be active, have him fight, and sure, have him fight Bader. There's really no one else. Gustafsson, I think, needs to get a win. Same with Teixeira. They were supposed to fight this month, actually, but just have him fight Bader, keep him active. I think it'll be a real easy knockout for him. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's my recap for UFC 187. I guess I didn't keep this video so brief, but thank you for watching. Please like the video, comment, subscribe, and please follow me on Twitter. I'll be live tweeting during all of the events in the future going forward. I'll continue with my predictions. I already have predictions for next week's fight night, New Orleans, Boach versus Henderson. I'll be back very soon within the next few days with my predictions for UFC 188 in Mexico City. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. But take care, you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.